Dear students, I welcome you in the online classes organized by ISP. We are studying the subject of research methodology, and today we are going through the lecture number 6. Before going into the detail of the lecture, let us have a review of what we have learned till now. We know that we defined research and some of its basic assumptions. For example, how to plan a good research, what are the qualities of a good researcher, and what are the steps involved in the process of research. Then we moved forward and we studied the quantitative and qualitative approaches of research. And in the lecture number 4, we studied some methods of research. But our primary concern is the research methodology in literature and language. So we are in search of such methodologies which may suit to the research in the field of literature and language. In lecture number 5, we discussed some methodologies which have some concern with literature, and we discussed those methodologies under the umbrella term of content analysis. Now we move forward from the same point where we left in lecture number 5. And we are continuing with literary research methods. And I hope that after learning these literary research methods, all of you will be capable enough to decide for yourself what research methodology you are going to take or adopt or select for your future research, because after one semester you will go into this field as future researchers, and you will have to select an area of research, and for that area of research you will have to select a suitable methodology. So this is actually an exercise to make you familiar with these literary research methods, so that it may be easy for you to select one of them that favors you, and one of them that is suitable for your research. Now, let us move forward and go through the lecture outlines. Our topic for today is literary research methods, and we are going to study some of research methods which are used in the research of literature. So we are going to study archival research method, then autobiographical research method, oral history research method, visual research method, and creative writing research method, and semiotic as a research method. And in the end, I would set, as usual, an exercise for you. Now let us go into the heart of the lecture. The first method that we are going to study as a literary research method is archival research. Archives means old, ancient. So it is the research of old documents and textual material. So this is a kind of research in which we go to the libraries, for example. We search for those documents which are relevant to our area of research, and we search for those texts, those books which are relevant to our research area, which are relevant to our research questions, and we go through those books and collect material for our research, collect data for our research. These documents and texts have been written in the distant past. Naturally, we are searching the archives, old, ancient. So naturally, these documents that we are going to search, they belong to some era, some age of the past. And these documents may be about the organizations, individuals, and events. So we know that there are so many documents which are written about some organization or by some organization. Similarly, there are so many things, books for example, biographies, which are written by the individuals, or sometimes these are written for or about some individuals. Similarly, there are some events in history, and so many things become the part of these books which are written about these events. So in archival research, we will search for all this material about organization, depending naturally again upon our area of research. We will search all this material about organizations, individuals, and events. We will go through it together and to collect our data. Now, we can take examples in this regard. For example, we want to study the status of English in the United India. The status of English in the United India means we want to study the status of English before partition, before 1947. What was the status of this language in the United India? Was it an official language? And how many people were interested in speaking this language? How many people were interested in learning this language? Naturally, this was a time when we were ruled by our colonial masters, and their language was English. So we want to study about it, and we will naturally search for those articles, books written about this area of research, that is the status of English in the United India. Similarly, we can take another example. The life story expressed through novel, memoir of the war veteran of 1965. So that could also be an archival research. We want to study the life story of a person who has participated in the Indo-Pak War of 1965. Perhaps some story or novel has been written about that person, and we want to see the memoir of different writers about the war of 1965, in which this person about whom we are researching and we are trying to locate his life story. So we will search for those memoirs as well as we will go through that novel, and in this way we will reconstruct the life story of that person. So this is a good example of archival research. Now, another method that is being used in literature and in literary research is autobiographical or biographical method. We know the difference between autobiography and biography. And when autobiography or biography is used as a research material, then this kind of research is known as autobiographical research. And what is the methodology? The personal and official documents, oral stories, pictures, etc. are also investigated in this type of research. So we will not only focus upon the biography or autobiography of the person, but we will go through the personal and official record or documents of that person or about that person. Then we will also go and meet those people who have some kind of relationship with this person about whom we are searching, and we will take interviews. We will have discussion and conversations with those people, and we will try to find out what they say about that person. Similarly, pictures are also a very good source of reconstruction of history, reconstruction of old days. So these will be investigated, and these will also become a research material for us. Now, about whom such kind of research is made. This type of research is about the prominent personalities of an age. Naturally, we will be interested in the biography and autobiographies of prominent persons. And we can find material about them in the documents and in the minds and hearts of people who have some kind of relationship with them. About some events as are seen by the eyes of different personalities. So this research is not about only the prominent personalities of any age, but this research may be about some events. How different people, how different prominent personalities have seen those events. How these people have witnessed these events and how did they relate about them? What are their feelings about these events? Now, example of autobiographical method of research is the partition of India, reconstructed through the autobiographies of Jinnah, Nehru, Gandhi. We know that these are the three important characters of the drama of partition. So, we will reconstruct this event of partition of United India, and our research material will be the autobiographies or biographies written by Jinnah, Nehru or Gandhi, or written about Jinnah, Nehru and Gandhi. So this will become our research material, and we will try to reconstruct the history of partition through these autobiographies and Actually, we are applying autobiographical research method. Now, this is our method number 3. Oral history research. So, what is oral history research? Accounts of persons, historians, archivists about certain events or personalities of the past. So we will naturally go and visit such kind of persons, and they may be historians, history writers, or they may be those people who are interested in history, culture and archives, and we will try to know from these people about certain events or personalities of the past. Naturally, this is a historical type of research. And what is the object and purpose of such kind of research? Objective is to reconstruct and document the history, or redocument the history through these oral tales and stories, feelings and sentiments, emotions. We will try to reconstruct and redocument the history. And naturally, interview is the tool used by the researcher. As the researcher would visit all these persons, historians and archivists, he or she would take interview from these people. However, there is an issue of authenticity in such kind of research. Not only the researcher is subjective, may be subjective, but all those people from whom we are taking interviews and collecting data through those interviews, they might be very emotional, sentimental, and subjective about certain events or about certain personalities. They may have biases about these events and personalities. They may not relate a very authentic kind of accounts about these events or personalities. They may be emotional, for example. They may favor some personalities over the other. So the issue of authenticity is always there in such kind of research, that is oral history research. So what kind of examples that we can take for our understanding? The life of Qaeda and oral reconstruction. So all those people who have some kind of relationship, or all those people who have worked with Qaeda in some capacity, we would visit those people and we will interview those people. Similarly, there are so many historians who have written something about Qaeda, not only in Pakistan and India, but all over the world. So we will visit those people, we will take interviews, and through these interviews, we will try to reconstruct the life history of Qaeda. There is another example of oral history research. TV documentaries that we watch on TV screen, these are also oral history research examples, because a lot of people are contacted, we know, during such documentaries, and the director tries to reconstruct some kind of history through those interviews. Another research method is visual research method. Now, what is visual research method? It uses artwork as research method. So, from where we would collect material from some artwork, the work of some artist, we will gather material. And what could be the work? Drawings, paintings, films, photography. etc. are some of the sources of visual research. So we will use these sources, for example, drawings of some persons, paintings of some painters of any age, of any country, then films which have been made in some era, or photography. So these are the sources used for visual research method. This is an important methodology in this age of media. So we are living in an age of media, where media is controlling and shaping our lives, affecting our lives. So in such kind of environment, visual research becomes very important. The world around us is constructed through images. Later it is explained through the words. So we know that in media, the world is constructed. Our life is, whatever is happening around us is constructed through images. On TV screens, in movies, on social media, we see a lot of images. And then we read the words which try to explain these images. So, visual research method would look how these images are being shown, being displayed, because we know that when we look these images are shown and displayed to us with some ideology behind it. Some kind of ideology is always working when through any media we see these images. The person who is trying to who is trying to make us see these images, has something in his or her mind, and he wants to construct the reality according to his or her ideology. Now, what could be the example of such kind of research? The face of Pakistan through the images, films of the Western media. So that could be one of the topic of our research, and we will go through the images and films and how the media of West is portraying the face of Pakistan. How they want to show the world what kind of country Pakistan is, what kind of people Pakistanis are, and naturally through this we will proceed in our research by using visual research method. Another research method is of creative writing research method. Now, the creative literature is taken as research method. So, creative literature, poetry, drama, fiction, these are all the creative literature, types of creative literature. So, these form our research material. The creative writer is himself or herself a good researcher, observing each and every detail. We know that all the creative writers have keen eyes, observing eyes. They observe something more than the common people do. So they are very good observers. And we know that after observing minutely, they try to express that observation into their words, into their stories, into their plots. So, creative writer is himself a very good, or herself is a very good researcher. The focus of the research is how the material shapes itself into the work of art. We know that there is some material in the mind of the creative writer, and then this material is shaped into some work of art. It might be poetry, So material was there in the mind of the poet, and he or she converted that material into the form of poetry, into the form of some plot of novel, or he or she is going to express it through some plot of drama. Similarly, if the artist is a painter, he or she is going to paint whatever the material he or she has in his or her mind. The writer sets a goal for himself or herself for the creation. Then he or she amends his or her target at different stages as the process of research moves forward. So a writer has naturally some kind of target and goal when he or she starts writing. And during this process, he may amend, he may or she may change his or her target at different stages when this process of creation moves forward. And this research, creative writing research method, would observe all these stages. Stage number 1 is the material in the mind of the writer, and stage number 2 is the finished product. So right from the process of creation to the final finished product, this method would observe all these stages and phases. And what is the example of creative writing research method? The process and the product in the poetry of Coleridge. So this is the example we have taken about the famous English poet Coleridge, how he used to proceed in the process of creation and what used to be the end product of this process. Now, this is the last method that we are going to study in today's lesson, and that is semiotic as a research method. We know semiotic is the study of signs and symbols. So this study of signs and symbols may also be used as a way forward to some research study or research project. Semiotic helps to look beyond the linguistic structure, to investigate beneath the surface, to discover meanings of the text. So, this is the role semiotic plays in our investigation of some text. Because linguistic structure is something that is on the surface. Whenever we go through some stretch of language or when we ever go through some text, there is a linguistic structure and naturally semantic meanings that we can understand right from the process as soon as we start reading. But this study of signs and symbols, that is semiotic, it helps us to peep deeper into the surface, look deeper and beneath the surface, and the hidden meanings of the text are discovered through this study of signs and symbols. Signs are the part of the structure of language that we use. We know that we use signs, and perhaps you might be familiar with the theory of sign, signify, and signifier as well. So signs are the part of the structure of language that we use. Meanings are constructed by signs, symbols, written and technical. We know that all these sources, that is symbols, these might be written and these might be technical, meanings are constructed through these signs. For example, in advertisement, not only the signs are very important and symbols are very important, these might be written, these might be technical on electronic media, and we know that these symbols always convey some message in the field of advertisement. An example of semiotic as a research method is the study of symbol. we have taken an example of fiction here or drama here. The study of symbols in O'Neill's Morning Becomes Electra. This play is very significant, whereas the study of symbols is concerned. And there are so many symbols that are being used by O'Neill in this drama. So we can study those symbols, and this would be a semiotic. We will be using semiotic as a research method in such kind of study. So that was all for today's lecture, and we have studied those research methods which are very much relevant to the research methodologies that can be used in the field of literature. We are going to some kind of pattern so that we may become familiar with all those areas and all those methodologies which are relevant or related to investigation or research in the field of literature. We know that we have to study some methodologies relevant to linguistics as well, because there might be some students who might be interested in the research in the field of language or linguistics. So we will try to exhaust all those methods and all those methodologies of research which are relevant to literature and linguistics. Still, we have some other research methods which we will try to discuss in our next lectures. And at the end, as usual, I am going to set an exercise for you. And exercise is write a note on any 4 methods of literary research. We have today studied 6 methods overall, and you can write any 4 methods. You can write a note about any 4 methods. You can add from your side as well if there is some method which is relevant to literature. The second part of this question is, which method is interesting for you? That is very important. You have to tell your preference. Which method is more interesting for you? And you will have to provide logic. What is the reason of your interest? Because I want to know of your bent of mind. What are you thinking after going through these 6 lectures? I hope that there would be some preference in your mind, and you will be constantly and permanently thinking about your research projects of future. So as future researcher, I want to know what is more interesting for you and why. That's all from my side for today. Khuda Hafiz. Stay safe.